Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. And Lewis bloody Hamilton has done it again. He has said something incredibly stupid just a week after doing, well, less than a week since the last time he said something incredibly stupid. In fact, he's saying incredibly stupid things with increasing frequency, which should be concerning to everyone involved. If you remember last year, some Just Up Oil protesters invaded the Silverstone track during the British Grand Prix and were arrested, which is good. But after that, Lewis said that he did welcome protests. Now, I think I mentioned back then that's a really stupid thing to say, because if something happens on the back of that, well, in a roundabout way, it's Lewis's fault. He's encouraged it. Well, he's only gone and done it again this year, saying he welcomes protests and activists. He has said don't run out on the track, but they're going to. It's the way they see it. It's the best way to get eyes on their protest, despite the fact it's doing more harm than good to what they're standing for. But Lewis should not be in any way encouraging protests around Silverstone. He should be doing everything to discourage it, because it only takes one idiot to run onto the track whilst the cars are going round to not only end his life, but ruin the driver's life who hits him. And that will be on Lewis's head if it happens, because he's basically invited them. And I'm sure in the aftermath they can say, well, Sir Lewis said it was okay. Why would you ever say this? And it brings me on to this FIA ban on political speech. I don't really agree with it, because it is treating race drivers like school kids. But if you're going to have these rules, you need to enforce them. And Lewis has said something that is incredibly detrimental to the safety of spectators and drivers. Ban him. Put your foot down and show it that you're going to impose these rules. A fine won't do it, because whether you do it to Lewis Hamilton directly or the team, you're never going to justify finding enough money for it to make a difference to them. And points in his racing licence, maybe, but I really consider that to be more for driving offences. So, race ban. I would tell him, make it Silverstone as well. His home race, he'd be gutted to miss it. And it's also a risk for him, because if Mercedes put a driver in the car who does just as well as Lewis Hamilton and is a lot cheaper, they may consider that contract they're offering him. And if he's going to keep saying things like this, asking protesters to turn up but not get involved, then Formula 1 doesn't want him around, because he's dangerous. And as much as we don't want to see anyone get hurt, and it's also very unlikely that they'll get to the track, it's still a possibility. And these things just should not be said. You should not in any way encourage this kind of activity. It's one thing for them to turn up at Lord's and in the snooker, where they might get tackled to the ground or maybe face a snooker cue to the back of the head if someone was willing to do it. But cars, they go quite fast sometimes, especially on racetracks. It makes it incredibly dangerous, unpredictable. I don't think anyone would be... what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think anyone's really ready to see a human smushed into the ground by a Formula 1 car. Lando Norris has said it would be stupid. Activists don't turn up, don't jump on the track. He has said that he thinks activism's fine and should be done to make people aware, but not on a racetrack. And honestly, if Just Stop Oil, Extinction Rebellion, whatever, if you gave them a booth at Silverstone where they could talk about sustainability, or maybe even have like a live event, you have YouTube as a platform where you can broadcast to millions of people, invite someone from Just Stop Oil to have a reasoned debate with someone from the FIA, and you can talk about how motorsport needs to be more sustainable, how it needs to cut its carbon footprint. It probably does, honestly. You can make those arguments, but from a motorsport's perspective as well, the technology necessary to make it more sustainable, needs to be, it's improved during motorsport events. This new technology that comes in, batteries and hybrid systems and all the computers that run them and the mechanics who fix them, the technology for that is bettered when it's put through motorsport. It gets more durable, it just improves. And I think you can see that with technology in general with cars over the last 100 plus years. A lot of improvements have been made to cars in general through motorsport. It's a great place to test these new technologies. That's an argument you could have with someone from Just Stop Oil to say, why are you busting into our sports event? I don't agree with Just Stop Oil's tactics. I think they are incredibly self-harming. Instead of tackling the people that actually matter with climate change, the commodity traders, the big oil companies, anyone selling coal, especially the Western commodity traders selling Russian coal to India at the moment, which is happening. There's evidence of it. What about the politicians who take bribes from these companies? There is proof of this. It's just you have to go looking for it if you're interested, and it's not brought to the general public's attention. Would that not be a better way to be an activist? Is taking information and finding a way to bring it to the masses and get everyone interested. It's not stopping Bob in traffic from picking up his next fare in his cab and ruining his livelihood, because that just makes people angry. And Just Stop Oil have done a really good job of making the general populace of this country, but I'm sure activists in other countries have done the same, turning them against them and making themselves the enemy. It's entirely possible to be for trying to do better for climate change, but also being against this type of activism. They are not good people, they are criminals, and they deserve to be locked up for their offences. I'm not saying for like 20 years, but if someone's blocking traffic, put them in jail for like a month or something, put it on their record. But activism should be allowed, it's just maybe find a better way to do it and it might breed better results. I think the problem is they target people like myself and others who are just trying to get by. I haven't got the money to go out and buy an electric car, but I need a car. My child goes to school 13 miles away from where I live. I have to travel there. There is public transport, but it's unreliable and expensive and much slower. I mean, I would lose 3 hours of my day to public transport if I did that. Not good enough. In a car, it's a 20-minute journey and a 20-minute back, 20 minutes. So it's over an hour still. It's still too long. And it's a difficult choice we've made, but it's still, I can't afford to replace my petrol-powered car with an electric one, but I still have journeys I need to make. Around the house, I can turn the lights off. The plugs aren't on when I'm not using them. This light's on, the computer's on, but nothing else around here is on. Kids and my girlfriend are asleep. The lights are off. There's no fans on in there. Nothing's on. Everything is turned off. So there isn't much more I can do than that. I don't have the money to invest in like solar panels. I live in a block of flats anyway, so it would be very difficult to ask my landlord to install some solar panels. It's not going to happen. We do the best we can. Other people do the best we can. My kids have had, well, one of my kids, the other kids aren't at school. My oldest child has had lessons at school about climate change and what we can do. And he understands recycling and turning plugs off and why it's necessary or why it's a good thing to do. And he will go around turning lights out when they're not in use, and he's done very well at that. But these are only little things, and they make a very insignificant amount of difference. But just by having my kids educated on the matter and doing what they can, we as adults do what we can, that's really it. And when you're talking about the big polluters, nothing we can do in this country really matters when you consider that China burns more coal than the entire rest of the world combined. Until you attack's not the right word, but until you target big commodity traders, the coal mines, maybe governments that are involved. They're the ones who make a difference. They're the ones you need to target. And they have targeted like Shell headquarters. I don't think it's enough to make a difference, but they're the people who need to know. They don't care that you're blocking traffic. In essence, the cars are stuck in traffic. They're pumping out more fuel and pollution, and it's actually just making them more profits. And I don't want to see protesters break into sporting events and disrupting them, because it's the one chance I get to relax all week is watching the motorsport, and it's annoying. When that idiot stuck himself to the track in the Formula E race, I think it was in Germany, it was annoying. It delayed the race by like 5-10 minutes. That's 5-10 minutes longer I had to wait to see cars go round, and that's what I want on my weekends. It's what I do to relax after a stressful week. Don't protest like this. It's bad. Lewis Hamilton should not be encouraging protests like this. As I said, it's dangerous. There should be consequences for his words, especially if something happens. Lando Norris, round of applause. You really said the correct things, and I applaud you. Same for Oscar Piastri, I think pretty much agreed with him. This was at their launch in Woking, which isn't far from me, but I'd quite like to have gone to see it actually. But the chrome livery for their, which is a one-off for this Grand Prix, I think it looks terrible, but Lando Norris seems to really like it. It's hideous. I really hate it. And hopefully we have a British Grand Prix interruption free, and everyone can remain happy and healthy for another week, because I think motorsport needs that right now. And maybe a bit of restraint from climate protesters may bore them some favour. If Lewis Hamilton, look, Just Stop Oil for me lack a front person, someone who, like a charismatic leader who can be the media presence to get behind and organise, and he has the funds to put things together for this group. If he wanted to do that, that would be good. It's still hypocritical, because obviously he probably has a massive carbon footprint compared to the rest of us. But he could still use what power he has for good. And he does have some power. He's got a lot of social media followers. He's got a lot of money. He probably has contacts in high places. He's friends with Tom Cruise and other celebrities. There's enough there that he could help activist groups like this. And he should start by discouraging them from this kind of protest. It wouldn't be a bad thing for Lewis Hamilton to help activists using like every tool at his disposal, and he has plenty of tools around him. So that would be okay. Encouraging protesters to turn up to Silverstone will always be wrong in my books. It should come with a race ban, because it is inciting dangerous behaviour, and Lewis Hamilton recently has just really jumped the shark in terms of stupid things he can say. But keep your eyes open. I'm sure there'll be more from him soon. And check the comments, because I'm sure his fan base is going to be very, very angry. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you everyone who has recently. It's a massive motivator for me. Really enjoy making these videos. I'm working on a couple of other big projects which I will bring to light very soon. So stick around. Leave your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.